I never thought I'd end up writing something like this, but here we are. If you had asked me a year ago whether I trusted my wife, I would have said yes without hesitation. I would have defended her against anyone. Friends, family, strangers, didn't matter. She was my wife, the mother of my child, the woman I built my life around. That confidence makes me feel stupid now. We've been together for 11 years, married for 8, one child, a normal life. Not perfect, but stable. I worked full-time, sometimes more than I should have. She worked part-time and handled most of the day-to-day stuff with our kid. I thought we were a team. Looking back, the cracks were already there. I just kept stepping over them, telling myself they were nothing. It started with Uber. At first it was practical. Parking near her job was annoying. Traffic stressed her out. Gas prices went up. Fine. We could afford it. She started using Uber to get to work, to the store, to meet friends. No big deal. Then it became constant. She stopped driving almost entirely. Uber everywhere, even short distances, even when the car was free. When I joked about it, she snapped. Said I was judging her. Said I was cheap. Said I didn't understand how exhausting her life was. That was new. She'd never talked to me like that before. She mentioned one driver more than once. Same name, same car. She said he was always nearby and just easier than waiting for someone else. I didn't care. Why would I? It was a stranger doing his job. I didn't know that frequent trips with the same driver meant long conversations, familiarity, comfort, and eventually, something much worse. Over time, her attitude toward me shifted. She became sharp, mean. Everything I did annoyed her. If I asked how her day was, she'd roll her eyes. If I came home tired, she'd accuse me of being useless around the house. If I wanted to spend time together, she'd say she needed space. Our arguments became one-sided. She never apologized anymore. Everything was somehow my fault. She also started accusing me of things that made no sense. Asking who I was texting. Asking why I was on my phone. Asking if I was bored with her. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't hiding anything. I was just tired and confused. Meanwhile, she was suddenly obsessed with her appearance. More makeup, new clothes, perfume just to run errands. She cared more about how she looked getting into an Uber than she did when we went out together. When I brought it up, she laughed in my face and called me insecure. I let it go. The intimacy disappeared. Weeks went by, then months. Every excuse in the book. Stress, headaches, hormones. My fault, apparently, for not being romantic enough, even though she rejected every attempt I made. I still didn't suspect cheating. I suspected resentment. I thought maybe we were drifting. I thought we could fix it. Then the lies started stacking up. I noticed the Uber charges on our account. Multiple rides in a single day. Sometimes 2 within an hour. I asked calmly why that was happening. She exploded. She accused me of monitoring her, of controlling her, of treating her like a child. She said the app glitched. She said she lost signal. She said I was paranoid. None of it made sense, but I backed off because every conversation turned into a fight. Her phone became glued to her hand. She tilted the screen away when I entered a room, locked it instantly, took it into the bathroom, slept with it under her pillow. Once, half joking, I reached for it, and she slapped my hand away like I was touching something sacred. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she snapped. That question would haunt me later. The first time I actually saw him was pure coincidence. I came home early one afternoon. Work wrapped up faster than expected. I pulled into our street and saw her getting out of a black sedan parked near the house. She was laughing, really laughing, the kind of laugh she hadn't shared with me in years. The driver leaned out of the window and said something. She leaned back in, smiling, and touched his arm. Touched. Something cold settled in my stomach. She saw me standing there. Her smile vanished instantly. "Why are you home so early?" she demanded. No introduction, no explanation, just accusation. Inside, she told me I was imagining things, said he was just friendly, said I was making it weird, said I needed help if I thought every man wanted her. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But the image stayed with me. The laugh, the touch, the ease between them. Things escalated fast after that. She became openly hostile, picked fights for no reason, criticized everything I did. If I stayed quiet, she accused me of sulking. If I defended myself, she accused me of being aggressive. She also started going out more, staying out later. Always Uber. Always the same excuse. One night, something in me finally broke. She said she was going to meet a friend. I nodded, smiled, watched her leave. Then I grabbed my keys and followed. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying myself, like I was turning into the person she accused me of being. I stayed far back. I didn't want to be seen. The car drove for a while, then turned onto a quiet side street and stopped. Not a cafe, not a bar, just a residential street. Minutes passed. I parked and got out. As I walked closer, I knew. Before I even reached the car, I knew. They were in the front seats, too close. Her hand was on his thigh. His hand was on her neck. They were kissing. Slow, familiar, intimate. My wife, in an Uber, with the man she told me was just convenient. I opened the door. She screamed. He cursed. Chaos erupted. "What the fuck is wrong with you?" she yelled at me. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "please listen." Rage, immediate rage. She started crying within seconds, full hysterics, shouting that I was stalking her, that I was abusive, that I was paranoid. She told the driver to leave, told him I was dangerous. I told him to get the hell out of my sight. He didn't argue. He drove off. She turned on me like I was the villain. She lied nonstop. Said it was just a kiss. Said it meant nothing. Said I pushed her away. Said I worked too much. Said I never listened. Then she flipped again. Screaming. Threatening to leave with our child. Threatening to disappear. Threatening to hurt herself. She called me boring, pathetic, useless. "At least he makes me feel wanted," she said. That sentence destroyed something in me. I told her I wanted a divorce. She laughed. "You'd never take the kid from me," she said. "No court would side with you." That was the moment I stopped loving her. The moment those words left her mouth, something in me went cold. Not angry, not sad, just empty. Like a switch flipped and whatever version of her I'd been holding on to finally died. She must have seen it on my face because her tone changed instantly. "You don't mean that," she said. "You're just emotional." That was her favorite move. Reduce everything to my emotions. Minimize, control. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just walked past her, grabbed a bag, and went to stay with a friend for the night. I needed space, distance, air. She spent that entire night blowing up my phone. Calls, messages, voice notes, crying, screaming, apologizing, accusing, begging, threatening. At one point, she said she'd tell everyone I hit her if I didn't come home. I saved everything. The next morning, I went back for our child. She tried to block the door, said I wasn't taking her baby. I told her calmly that if she didn't move, I'd call the police. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. That was the first time she realized I wasn't bluffing. The days that followed were a blur of chaos. She swung wildly between acting like nothing happened and acting like the world was ending. One moment she'd be sweet, making breakfast, talking about therapy. The next, she'd be screaming that I ruined her life. She never once took responsibility. According to her, the affair was my fault. My work hours, my attitude, my failure to fight for her attention. The Uber driver was just there when she needed someone. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said a few weeks, another lie. I found messages later that went back months. Flirting at first, then late-night texts, then explicit promises, plans, jokes about me. She mocked me to him, called me predictable, safe, boring. He told her she deserved better, that she was trapped, that I didn't appreciate her. Classic. When I confronted her with the messages, she denied they were real, said they were taken out of context, said he manipulated her, said she was lonely. She cried when she realized I had screenshots. Then she raged. She threw a glass at the wall, missed my head by inches. Shards everywhere. Our child screaming in the other room. That was the moment I knew staying wasn't just bad for me. It was dangerous. I called a lawyer the next day. Actually, I called 3. I wanted options. I wanted facts. I wanted to know exactly what I was up against. Every lawyer asked the same question. Do you have proof? I said yes. Every lawyer nodded and said the same thing. Keep everything. When she got served divorce papers, she laughed. I mentioned that earlier, but what I didn't mention was how fast that laugh turned into panic. She skimmed the pages, unimpressed, until she reached the custody section. Primary custody requested by me. Her face changed. You can't do that, she said quietly. I told her I already had. She lost it. She screamed so loud the neighbors heard. She accused me of kidnapping, of stealing her child, of destroying the family. She dropped to the floor at one point, clutching my legs, sobbing, promising she'd change, that she'd cut him off, that it was all a mistake. I asked her one question. Have you blocked him? She hesitated. That was all the answer I needed. She slapped me across the face, hard, no hesitation, no warning, just pure rage. I walked away and called the police, not to have her arrested, just to have it documented. She screamed that I was ruining her life while the officer calmly took notes. That report would matter later. What I didn't know at the time was that she had already started a smear campaign. She told her friends I was abusive, told her family I controlled her finances, told people I stalked her, told people I was unstable and jealous. Some believed her instantly, some didn't. Most stayed silent. People I'd known for years stopped responding to my messages. Invites disappeared. Group chats went quiet. It hurt, but it also clarified something for me. Anyone who believed her without asking me wasn't someone I needed in my life. While she was busy rewriting history, I focused on reality. I documented everything, every outburst, every threat, every lie, dates, times, screenshots, call logs. She underestimated me. She always thought I was passive, weak, too nice. She didn't realize that patience looks a lot like weakness until it stops. What really shocked me was that she didn't stop seeing him, even after being caught, even after the divorce filing. She told the court she'd ended it. She lied. She told her lawyer it was over. She lied. She told our child he was just a friend. That one made me sick to my stomach. I found out because she was careless. She always was. She thought she was smarter than everyone else. She kept using the same driver, same name, same car. Uber records don't lie. Neither do timestamps. I brought it to my lawyer. He smiled for the first time since we met. This helps, he said. Meanwhile, our child started changing. Nightmares, clinginess, sudden outbursts, questions that no 6-year-old should have to ask. Why does mommy hate daddy? That question nearly broke me. One night while putting them to bed, my child said something so casually it took my breath away. Mom gets mad when I talk about you in the car. I froze. What car? I asked carefully. The black one. With the man. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. What man? The one mommy likes, my child said. She says I shouldn't tell you. I hugged them so tight they squirmed. That was it. From that moment on, I stopped worrying about being fair. I worried about being a parent. Court was brutal. She showed up crying, dressed like a victim, painted herself as a struggling mother abandoned by a cold, controlling husband. She claimed I was jealous, paranoid, obsessive. Then my lawyer started presenting evidence. The messages, the Uber logs, the police report, witness statements, her own contradictions, her story unraveled in real time. She interrupted the judge multiple times, yelled, cried, accused me of manipulation. The judge didn't flinch. Then the affair partner was mentioned. She denied it. Then he testified. He admitted they'd been seeing each other for months, admitted they met through Uber rides, admitted she lied to him about our marriage, admitted she involved our child. She screamed that he was lying. He didn't even look at her. That was the moment she lost. The judge awarded me primary custody, supervised visitation for her. When the ruling was read, she stared at me like I'd killed someone. This isn't over, she hissed, but it was. Not completely, not emotionally, but legally? Yes. The weeks after were quiet in a way I wasn't used to. No yelling, no walking on eggshells, no wondering which version of her I'd come home to. Just me and my child. Healing didn't come instantly. I still wake up angry some days, still replay conversations in my head, still wonder how I missed so much. But my child laughs again, sleeps through the night, feels safe. And that's all that matters. She still tells people her version, still plays the victim, still claims I turned everyone against her. But lies require maintenance. Truth doesn't. And I finally chose truth. The quiet didn't last. It never does. At first, life settled into something that almost felt normal. Mornings were calmer, no shouting, no tension hanging in the air, just routines, breakfast, school, work, evenings where I could breathe. But she didn't disappear just because the court said so. She called constantly at first. Angry voicemails, crying voicemails, long rambling messages jumping between threats and apologies. When I stopped answering, she switched tactics. She emailed. She texted from new numbers. She had mutual acquaintances reach out on her behalf. She claimed she was being treated unfairly, claimed I was poisoning our child against her, claimed she was being punished for one mistake. One mistake. Months of lying, cheating, manipulation, and emotional abuse reduced to a phrase that fit her narrative. Supervised visitation started 2 weeks after the ruling. She showed up late to the first one, dressed like she was going to a party, makeup heavy, smiling too wide. She tried to hug our child. The supervisor stopped her and explained the rules. She lost it, started crying, accused them of being cruel, accused me of turning everyone against her. Our child stood frozen, unsure what to do. I knelt down and told them it was okay. that they didn't have to hug anyone if they didn't want to. She shot me a look full of pure hatred. During the visits, she talked badly about me whenever she thought no one was listening. She asked leading questions, tried to fish for information about my life, about whether I was dating, about whether I missed her. Our child came home confused and quiet every time. I documented that too. A month in, she missed a visit entirely. No call, no explanation. Then she accused me of preventing her from seeing our child. The pattern was always the same. Chaos, denial, blame. She also didn't stop seeing the Uber driver. I only found out because he contacted me. I didn't expect that. He messaged me one night, saying he wanted to clear his conscience. Said he didn't know she was still seeing our child. Said she told him I was dangerous and the court was corrupt. He sent screenshots, messages where she talked about running away, about taking our child and starting over somewhere else, about how she'd figure out a way around the custody arrangement. I forwarded everything to my lawyer immediately. That probably saved us. The court ordered a psychological evaluation for her shortly after. She saw it as an attack, refused at first, claimed I was manipulating the system. When she finally went, she stormed out halfway through. Another mark against her. Meanwhile, my life moved forward in small, careful steps. I started therapy. Not because I felt broken, but because I wanted to understand how I ignored so many red flags. The therapist didn't sugarcoat it. "You were conditioned to minimize yourself," she said. "That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." I learned how often I'd apologized just to keep the peace. How often I'd taken responsibility for things that weren't mine. How slowly I disappeared inside that marriage. That realization hurt more than the betrayal. Months passed. She violated the visitation rules repeatedly, showing up late, bringing up inappropriate topics, trying to involve third parties. Once, she even tried to get our child to pass a note to me. The supervisor reported it. Her visitation was reduced further. She told everyone I was stealing her child, that the system was biased, that I was heartless. But fewer people listened now. The truth has a way of catching up. One evening, my child asked me a question I'd been dreading. "Why doesn't Mommy live with us anymore?" I told them the truth, in a way a child could understand. "Because Mommy made some choices that weren't safe, and my job is to make sure you're safe." They nodded, thought about it, then asked if it was their fault. I held them and told them no, 1,000 times no. That night, I cried after they fell asleep. Not because I missed her, because I mourned the family I thought we had. About 6 months in, she tried one last big move. She filed an emergency motion claiming I was neglecting our child, claimed they were unhappy, claimed they were scared of me. The court ordered an investigation. Social workers came to our home, spoke to teachers, spoke to neighbors, spoke to my child. It was terrifying, even though I had nothing to hide. When the report came back, it was clear. My child was thriving. Her motion was dismissed. The judge warned her about false claims. She screamed in the hallway afterward, called me names I won't repeat, said she'd never forgive me. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The Uber driver disappeared from her life shortly after that. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved on, found someone else, decided the drama wasn't worth it. She didn't take that well. She sent me a message one night that summed her up perfectly. "You destroyed everything for nothing." I stared at it for a long time. Then I blocked her. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. Healing isn't a straight line. Some days I still feel anger, Some days I still replay arguments in my head, imagining better responses. But most days, I feel something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I cook dinner without tension. I laugh with my child. I sleep without wondering what lie I'll wake up to. Sometimes I think about the version of myself who trusted without question, who defended her even when she hurt me. I don't hate that guy. He loved deeply. He believed in commitment. He wanted his family to work. But I'm glad I'm not him anymore. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that love without respect will destroy you quietly, slowly, until one day you don't recognize yourself. I recognize myself again now. And that's worth everything. Time didn't soften her. It exposed her. After I blocked her, communication went strictly through lawyers and the court-approved app. Even then, she couldn't control herself. Messages that were supposed to be about scheduling turned into accusations, paragraphs of rage, sudden apologies followed by insults 5 minutes later. She still didn't understand why none of it worked anymore. About a year after the divorce started, she showed up at my door unannounced. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that now. But when you share a child with someone, part of you is always bracing for emergencies. She looked worse, thinner, tired. The confidence she once weaponized was gone. She said she just wanted to talk. I told her she had 5 minutes, and the door stayed open. She cried almost immediately, said she'd lost everything. Friends, the Uber driver, her job, said everyone had abandoned her. Then she said, "I never thought you'd actually leave." That sentence explained more than she ever intended. She never believed I'd choose myself, or our child. She thought I'd stay no matter how badly she treated me. She said the affair started because she liked the attention, that the driver listened to her, that he made her feel important. She said she didn't plan for it to go so far. I asked her if she felt any remorse. She said she was sorry she got caught. I closed the door. After that, she escalated again, tried to appeal custody, tried to claim she'd changed, tried to present herself as a victim of mental health struggles. The court ordered another evaluation. She failed it. Her supervised visits were reduced to once a month. My child barely reacted. That hurt in a different way. Children adapt faster than adults, sometimes too fast. School conferences started sounding different. Teachers talked about confidence, stability, progress. One teacher told me, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." I went home and cried that night, quietly, gratefully. I started dating eventually, slowly, carefully. Not because I was lonely, but because I wanted to remember what healthy connection felt like. The first woman I dated asked me a question that stunned me. "Are you okay with not being right all the time?" I laughed, because for years, I'd been the only one willing to admit fault. Dating taught me how warped my sense of normal had become. Simple kindness felt suspicious. Calm conversations felt unreal. But I learned. Meanwhile, my ex spiraled publicly. Social media posts about betrayal, about narcissists, about surviving abuse. Anyone who disagreed was blocked. People noticed the pattern. Support dried up. One day, my child asked if they could stop going to the visits altogether. I told them it wasn't their decision alone, but I listened. A guardian ad litem spoke with them later. Long conversation, gentle questions. The recommendation came back clear. Visits to be paused. The judge agreed. That was the last time I saw her in a courtroom. Years have passed now, She's a distant figure, occasionally mentioned, rarely relevant. Sometimes I still think about the beginning, the version of her I married, or maybe the version I imagined. I don't wonder what would have happened if I'd caught it sooner. That road leads nowhere. What I know is this: betrayal doesn't just break trust, it forces clarity. I learned that love without boundaries is self-destruction, that loyalty doesn't mean endurance at any cost, that protecting a child sometimes means walking away from the person who helped create them. My life isn't dramatic anymore. It's quiet, honest, real. And after everything, that feels like winning. The strange thing was that once she was gone, truly gone, I finally had time to hear my own thoughts. For years, my mind had been filled with noise that wasn't mine. Her moods, her reactions, her expectations, her constant rewriting of reality. Even when she wasn't physically present, she lived in my head, shaping how I spoke, how I reacted, how carefully I chose words so they wouldn't explode into an argument. Silence felt unfamiliar at first, almost uncomfortable. I kept expecting something to go wrong, a message, a call, a knock on the door. I was so used to crisis that peace felt temporary, like it might be taken away if I relaxed too much. Therapy helped with that. I learned that hypervigilance doesn't disappear overnight. When you spend years managing someone else's instability, your nervous system forgets how to stand down. Some nights I'd wake up convinced I'd missed something important. Some days I'd feel guilt out of nowhere, even though I couldn't name what I'd done wrong. My therapist told me that was normal. "You were trained to take responsibility for someone else's emotions," she said. "Now your brain is looking for a job it doesn't have anymore." That hit harder than I expected. I started setting small boundaries, even with myself. Not replaying old arguments, not checking my phone obsessively, letting myself enjoy moments without waiting for them to be ruined. My child noticed the change before I did. One evening they said, "You smile more now." I asked if that was a good thing. They nodded and said, "The house feels quieter." That sentence alone was worth every legal bill, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. As time passed, pieces of the past started reaching me in fragments. Mutual acquaintances would mention her in passing, how she was still angry, still convinced she'd been wronged, still telling the same story, just with fewer people listening. I felt nothing when I heard it. No satisfaction, no anger, just distance. That scared me at first. I worried that my lack of emotion meant something was wrong with me, that I'd become cold. But I realized later it meant I'd healed enough to stop bleeding. One afternoon, years after everything fell apart, I ran into someone who knew us both back then, someone who'd believed her version without question. They looked uncomfortable when they saw me. "I owe you an apology," they said. I didn't see it at the time. I thanked them and moved on. I didn't need closure from people anymore. I already had it. The hardest part of rebuilding wasn't learning how to trust others again. It was learning how to trust myself. For a long time, I doubted my judgment. Wondered how I could have been so wrong about someone I loved. Questioned every instinct I had. But slowly, through consistency and calm, that confidence came back. I'd spot red flags earlier. I'd speak up sooner. I'd walk away faster. Not because I was bitter, but because I finally understood my worth. I didn't rush into another relationship. When I did eventually commit again, it was different. Slower. Honest. No games. No emotional roller coasters. When disagreements happened, they stayed disagreements. They didn't become character assassinations. No screaming, no threats, no rewriting history. The first time someone apologized to me without excuses, I almost didn't know how to respond. That's when it hit me how abnormal my old life had been. Sometimes, late at night, memories resurface. Not of the affair itself, but of the smaller moments I ignored. The dismissive comments, the subtle contempt, the way she'd smirk when she thought she'd won an argument. I don't dwell on them anymore. They're just reminders, lessons burned into experience. If I could speak to the version of myself who trusted blindly, I wouldn't shame him. I'd thank him for loving fully. Then I'd tell him this: love isn't proven by how much pain you endure. It's proven by mutual respect, accountability, and care. I used to think leaving meant failure. Now I know staying would have been. My child is older now, stronger, more aware. They ask thoughtful questions about the world, about people, about choices. One day, they asked me what love was supposed to feel like. I told them, safe, not exciting, not dramatic, not overwhelming. Safe. That answer came from experience, not theory. Looking back, I don't regret the marriage. I regret the years I spent doubting my reality instead of trusting it. But regret is quiet now. It doesn't scream anymore. It sits gently beside acceptance. If you're reading this and you're still in the place I was, confused, exhausted, questioning yourself, know this: clarity comes eventually. Not all at once, but enough to move forward. And once you do, you won't miss the chaos you mistook for love. You'll recognize peace when you find it, and you'll never let it go again.